Admiral Kate Morrison stood in the command center deep beneath Colorado Springs, watching screens that showed the end of the world. Giant alien ships floated at the edge of Earth's solar system like dark clouds before a storm. Each ship was bigger than any city on Earth. There were hundreds of them. The communication device on her desk buzzed with an incoming message. Kate knew what it would be. The aliens had been silent for 3 days since arriving. Now they were ready to talk. "Put it through to the main screen," Kate said to her aide, Lieutenant Commander Paul Davis. Her voice stayed calm, even though her heart was racing. The screen flickered and showed a creature that looked like a cross between a lizard and a bird. Its skin was dark purple with silver markings. Its eyes were cold and yellow like winter sun. When it spoke, the translator made its voice sound like grinding metal. "I am High Chancellor Vextar of the Zeltharian Empire. Your species will listen and obey." Kate felt her hands clench into fists. Around the command center, dozens of officers and technicians had stopped their work to stare at the screen. Everyone was holding their breath. For 10,000 years, the Zeltharian Empire has brought order to this galaxy. We have conquered 200 star systems. We have ruled over 500 species. All have learned the wisdom of submission. The alien's head tilted slightly. Kate thought it might be what passed for a smile among his kind. "Your planet Earth has been observed. Your species has been studied. You are primitive but show potential for useful labor. The Empire offers you a choice." Kate wanted to shoot the screen. Instead, she kept watching and listening. "You will surrender completely within 72 hours. You will dissolve all military forces. You will accept rule by imperial governors. You will provide tribute as demanded. In return, your species will be allowed to continue existing as subjects of the Empire." The alien paused. Its yellow eyes seemed to look right through the screen at everyone watching. "The alternative is extinction. 12 species have refused our generous offer in the past 50 years. None of their worlds still support life. Choose wisely." The screen went black dot. The command center stayed silent for a long moment. Then everyone started talking at once. Some people were shouting. Others were crying. A few just stared at empty screens with shock on their faces. Kate slammed her hand on the desk. The loud bang made everyone quiet. "Get me President Carter on the secure line now." While Paul worked to connect the call, Kate looked at the tactical display showing the alien fleet. The ships weren't just sitting there. They were moving slowly through the solar system, scanning everything. They were studying Earth's defenses, mapping cities, counting people. "Admiral Morrison!" President Lisa Carter's face appeared on a smaller screen. She looked tired and scared. Her usually perfect hair was messy and there were dark circles under her eyes. "Madam President, you saw the transmission. The whole world saw it. They broadcast on every frequency. Every television, every radio, every computer screen on Earth showed that thing making its demands." Kate nodded. That was smart and cruel. The aliens wanted everyone on Earth to know exactly what was happening. No secrets, no hope, no room for governments to lie to their people. "What are our options?" Admiral Kate looked around the command center. Her best people were waiting for her answer. These were men and women who had trained their whole lives to defend Earth. Now they faced an enemy that could destroy their planet with ease. "Honestly, Madam President, our conventional military options are limited. The alien fleet outguns us by a factor of at least 50 to 1. Each of their large ships carries more firepower than our entire Navy." President Carter closed her eyes. For a moment, when she opened them, Kate saw something that surprised her. The fear was still there, but now there was something else. Determination. "I'm calling an emergency session with the Global Defense Council. We need to hear from everyone before we make any decisions." 2 hours later, Kate sat in a secure conference room with the most powerful people on Earth. President Carter was there, along with the leaders of every major nation. General Ryan Parker, the head of Earth's combined military forces, sat across from her. Secretary of Defense Tony Walsh was reviewing intelligence reports. Prime Minister Helen Brooks of the European Federation looked pale but alert. "Let's start with the facts," President Carter said. "Admiral Morrison, give us the tactical situation." Kate stood and activated the holographic display in the center of the table. It showed the solar system with red dots marking enemy positions. The Zeltharian fleet consists of approximately 400 ships of various sizes. Their largest vessels are 3 kilometers long. Based on energy readings, we estimate each major ship carries weapons equivalent to our most powerful nuclear devices. She pointed to clusters of red dots near Mars and Jupiter. They're not just threatening us, they're studying us. Long-range scans show they're mapping our entire infrastructure. They know where our cities are, where our military bases are, probably where our leaders live. General Parker leaned forward. What about our space-based defenses? The orbital platforms, the lunar bases? General, with respect, it would be like throwing rocks at battleships. We might destroy a few of their smaller ships if we caught them by surprise, but they would still have enough firepower left to turn Earth into a dead rock. The room went quiet. Kate could hear the air conditioning humming and someone tapping a pen nervously on the table. Secretary Walsh cleared his throat. What about the other species they mentioned? The ones who refused their offer? Kate had been dreading this question. She activated another display showing 12 star systems. Our deep space telescopes confirm it. These systems show signs of recent planetary bombardment. Kepler-4, for to be, was known to have a thriving civilization just 40 years ago. Now it's a burned wasteland. The same pattern appears in all 12 systems. Prime Minister Brooks spoke up. So we're really looking at extinction if we refuse. Based on available evidence, yes, the discussion that followed was the most important in human history. Some argued for immediate military resistance. Others wanted to try diplomatic solutions. A few suggested hiding key populations in underground shelters or generation ships. Commander Jake Stevens arrived during the debate. He had just returned from a reconnaissance mission to the outer solar system. His ship was one of the few that could get close to the alien fleet without being detected. What did you find out there, Commander? President Carter asked. Jake looked exhausted. His uniform was wrinkled, and his hands shook slightly as he activated his data pad. The aliens aren't just positioned defensively, Madam President. They're actively preparing for occupation. I observed construction ships building orbital stations around Mars. They're setting up a permanent base in our solar system. He showed images of massive alien structures taking shape in space. They're not planning to leave after we surrender. They're planning to stay forever. The weight of that revelation settled on everyone in the room. This wasn't just about avoiding extinction. It was about the end of human freedom forever. General Parker stood up. I say we fight. Maybe we can't win, but at least we die free and take the rest of humanity with us. Secretary Walsh shot back. We're talking about 8 billion lives. What kind of lives will they be under alien rule? Prime Minister Brooks asked quietly. The argument continued for hours. Kate watched the people who led Earth struggle with an impossible choice. Fight and die free, or surrender and live as slaves. Finally, President Carter called for quiet. She had made her decision. I'm going to address the world in 1 hour. We will accept the Zeltharian terms. The room erupted in protest, but the president held up her hand. We have families, children, a future to protect. Sometimes the hardest choice is also the right choice. As the meeting broke up, Kate felt something die inside her chest. She had spent her life preparing to defend Earth. Now she would have to watch it surrender without firing a shot. What she didn't know was that the real war was just beginning. 3 hours after President Carter announced Earth's surrender to the world, Admiral Kate Morrison walked through a secret tunnel 50 feet below the Colorado Command Center. The tunnel was not on any official map. Most people in the military did not know it existed. She used her handprint to open a heavy door marked with radiation warning signs. The signs were fake. Behind the door was a room full of the most classified technology on Earth. Dr. Helen Brooks was waiting for her. Helen looked nothing like the Prime Minister who had sat in the surrender meeting. Her gray hair was pulled back, and she wore a lab coat instead of a business suit. Her eyes were sharp and focused. The Zeltharians bought it completely. Helen said without greeting, their communications show total confidence that we've given up. Kate allowed herself a small smile. It was the first time she had smiled in days. How long have you been working on this? Kate asked. 18 months. Ever since our deep space sensors first detected their fleet approaching, we knew this day would come. Helen led Kate to a massive holographic display that showed the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Hundreds of small dots moved slowly through the rocks and ice. Project Nightfall has been our most ambitious operation ever. While the world thought we were building defensive platforms and research stations, we were actually constructing something else entirely. The display zoomed in on one of the dots. Kate saw the outline of a ship unlike anything in Earth's official fleet. It was black as space itself, with smooth curves that seemed to bend light around them. Stealth ships. Kate breathed. Not just stealth, completely invisible to Zeltharian sensors. We've been studying their technology from crashed probes for 2 decades. We know exactly what frequencies they scan for, what energy signatures they look for. Our ships don't produce any of them. Colonel Steve Murphy entered the room carrying a data tablet. Steve was officially retired from the military, but that was just his cover story. For the past year, he had been coordinating the secret construction of humanity's hidden fleet. Admiral, we now have 347 operational ships in the Black Fleet. Crews are standing by for final orders. Kate studied the numbers on Steve's tablet. Each ship was smaller than the Zeltharian vessels, but they were fast and heavily armed. More importantly, they were crewed by volunteers who knew they might never see Earth again. Tell me about the crews, Kate said. Steve's expression grew serious. Every person volunteered when they learned the truth about Project Nightfall. We told them exactly what we were asking them to do. Fight an enemy that had never been defeated. Risk not just their own lives, but the future of the human race. He paused and looked at the holographic display showing the hidden fleet. Not one person backed out. Pilots, engineers, gunners, medical staff. They all said the same thing. Better to die fighting than live on our knees. Captain Amy Foster appeared on one of the communication screens. She was aboard the flagship of the Black Fleet, a massive stealth cruiser called the UES Defiance. Amy was 35 years old and had been Earth's best starship captain even before the secret project began. Admiral Morrison, all fleet commanders are ready for the final briefing. Kate nodded. Put them through. The screens around the room lit up with the faces of ship captains scattered throughout the asteroid belt. These men and women had spent months in hiding, preparing for a battle that would decide humanity's fate. Captains, you know why we're here? In 6 hours, the Zeltharian occupation fleet will arrive at Earth. They expect to find a defeated species ready to surrender completely. Kate paused to look at each face on the screens. She saw determination, fear, and hope mixed together. Instead, they're going to find out that humans are very good at lying. Captain Foster leaned forward on her screen. What's the tactical situation? Admiral Helen Brooks stepped up to answer. The Zeltharians have divided their fleet into 3 groups. The main battle fleet will remain at the edge of the solar system. A smaller occupation force will move to Earth orbit. The command ships will position themselves between Earth and the moon. She highlighted different areas on the tactical display. Their psychology is predictable. They've conquered so many species that they've become overconfident. They don't expect resistance because no one has ever successfully resisted them before. Colonel Murphy added more details. Our intelligence shows they'll follow standard Imperial protocol. Formal surrender ceremony aboard their flagship. Installation of planetary governors. Registration of the human population. They'll treat this as a routine occupation. Kate could see the captains processing this information. They were all thinking the same thing. The Zeltharians were making themselves vulnerable because they didn't believe humans posed any threat. The deception has 3 phases, Kate explained. Phase 1 is happening now. The world believes we've surrendered. The Zeltharians believe we've surrendered. Even most of our own military believes we've surrendered. She activated another display showing troop movements around Earth. Phase 2 begins when the occupation fleet arrives. We'll play our parts perfectly. Defeated humans cooperating with their new masters. Meanwhile, you'll move the Black Fleet into attack positions. Captain Susan Lee spoke up from her command ship. What about the humans who aren't part of the plan? The civilians who really think we've given up? That's the hardest part, Kate admitted. Billions of people will believe their leaders have betrayed them. They'll be angry and scared and hopeless. We can't tell them the truth because the Zeltharians might detect our deception. The weight of that reality settled on everyone in the briefing. They were asking the entire human race to suffer through what appeared to be surrender and occupation. Dr. Helen Brooks had more information to share. I've been studying Zeltharian psychology and culture for 20 years. They have one critical weakness. They've never faced an enemy that could deceive them effectively. She brought up files showing conquered species from across the galaxy. Every species they've defeated has been honest about their capabilities. When they said they were surrendering, they meant it. When they showed their military strength, it was real. The Zeltharians don't understand strategic deception because they've never needed it. Captain Jack Miller commanded one of the heavy assault ships. What happens when they figure out we've been lying? By then, it will be too late, Kate said. Phase 3 is the attack itself. Once we reveal the Black Fleet, we'll have complete tactical surprise. They won't be prepared for the type of warfare we're planning. Steve Murphy explained the battle strategy. The Zeltharians fight like their empire. Big, slow, overwhelming force. They expect enemies to line up and fight ship to ship until the weaker side gives up. He showed tactical simulations on the display. We're going to hit them with coordinated swarm attacks. Small, fast ships striking from multiple directions simultaneously. They won't know how to respond because no one has ever fought them this way. Captain Foster asked the question everyone was thinking. What are our chances? Kate looked around the room at the faces on the screens. These people were risking everything on a plan that had never been tested against an enemy this powerful. Honestly, I don't know. We're betting that surprise and determination can overcome superior firepower. We're betting that the Zeltharians have become so used to easy victories that they won't adapt quickly to a real fight. She paused to let that sink in. But I do know this. If we do nothing, humanity dies slowly as slaves. If we fight and lose, we die free. If we fight and win, we save not just Earth, but every species in the galaxy that dreams of freedom. The captains started signing off to return to their ships. Final preparations were beginning. In a few hours, the most important battle in human history would begin. As the screens went dark, Kate realized something that surprised her. For the first time since the Zeltharian ultimatum, she felt hope. It was a dangerous feeling. Hope could make people careless, but it could also make them fight harder than they ever thought possible. The Black Fleet was ready. The deception was in place. Now they just had to wait for the aliens to walk into their trap. Helen Brooks remained behind after the others left. Kate, there's something else you should know about the Zeltharians. What? In all their history, they've never fought a species that enjoyed fighting as much as humans do. Kate smiled grimly. The aliens were about to learn something new about Earth. Humans were very good at fighting, especially when they were angry. And right now, humanity was very angry indeed. The Zeltharian flagship Dominion Eternal was the largest ship ever built. It was 5 kilometers long and 2 kilometers wide. Its hull was made of metal that could survive the explosion of a star. Inside its corridors, 1,000 alien crew members prepared for another routine occupation. President Lisa Carter stood in the shuttle bay of the massive ship, surrounded by her closest advisors. They all wore their best formal clothes for the surrender ceremony. Their faces showed the proper mixture of defeat and respect that conquered species were expected to display. Admiral Kate Morrison walked beside the president, her military uniform stripped of all weapons and rank insignia as the Zeltharians had demanded. Her hands were steady, but inside her chest, her heart was beating fast. Everything depended on the next few hours. Lieutenant Commander Paul Davis was part of the human delegation, but his real job was intelligence gathering. Hidden in his formal jacket was a scanner no bigger than a coin. While the aliens watched the surrender ceremony, Paul would map their ship's weak points. High Chancellor Vexstar waited for them in the main ceremonial hall. The room was enormous, with a ceiling that stretched up into darkness. Hundreds of alien officers stood in perfect rows watching the humans with cold yellow eyes. President Carter of the species called humans, Vexter said in his grinding metal voice, you have chosen wisdom over destruction. The Empire acknowledges your surrender. Lisa Carter had practiced this moment for days. She bowed her head in what looked like shame and defeat. "Hi, Chancellor. Humanity accepts the rule of the Zeltharian Empire. We place ourselves under your protection and guidance." The words tasted like poison in her mouth, but she spoke them clearly. Around the galaxy, other species would hear this recording and know that even Earth had fallen to Imperial might. Vexter seemed pleased. He had conquered so many worlds that surrender ceremonies had become boring routine. This one was no different from the others. "You will remain aboard this ship while Imperial governors establish control of your planet. Governor Dexville will administer Earth according to Imperial law." Kate looked at Governor Dexville and felt her stomach twist. The alien was smaller than Vextar, but somehow more cruel. His scaled face showed the kind of satisfaction that came from controlling helpless beings. While the ceremony continued, Paul Davis let his hidden scanner study every detail of the ship around them. The device was recording power flows, structural, weak points, and defensive systems. Information that would be vital when the Black Fleet attacked. The formal surrender took 2 hours. Documents were signed. Oaths were sworn. Humans pledged loyalty to an empire they secretly planned to destroy. Every word was transmitted across the galaxy as proof of Zeltharian power. When it was over, the human delegation was escorted to quarters. Deep inside the flagship, they were not prisoners. Officially, they were honored guests who would help with the peaceful transition of power. Back on Earth, the occupation was beginning. Governor Vexville established his headquarters in the former United Nations building in New York. Alien soldiers patrolled the streets while human police watched helplessly. Giant imperial banners hung from every major building. Mayor Ellen Hughes of New York was one of the first human officials to meet with the new governor. She walked into his temporary office with her head down, looking defeated and cooperative. "Your Excellency," she said in a humble voice, "New York City is ready to serve the Empire in any way you require." Vexville looked pleased. Another broken human ready to serve her new masters. What he did not know was that Ellen Hughes had been a colonel in Earth's Special Forces before becoming mayor. She was part of Project Nightfall and had been chosen specifically for this role. "We'll provide complete records of your city's population and resources," Dexville ordered. "The Empire must know exactly what assets are available." "Of course, Your Excellency. I'll have my staff prepare everything immediately." Ellen left the meeting and immediately contacted her real superiors. Every piece of information the aliens requested would be carefully prepared to hide the truth about Earth's capabilities. Similar scenes were happening all over the planet. Director Carl Wong of the Global Resource Council promised full cooperation while secretly coordinating resistance activities. General Peter Lee, supposedly retired, worked with alien military advisors while passing intelligence to the hidden fleet. Dr. Nicole Grant had the most dangerous job of all. She was assigned to work with the Zeltharian Research Division, helping them understand human technology. This gave her access to their computer systems and technical specifications. "Your species shows some interesting developments," the alien chief scientist told her. "Your computer technology is primitive but shows creative thinking." Nicole nodded and smiled. "We're eager to learn from Imperial science. Perhaps you could show me how your ships achieve such impressive power generation." The alien was happy to explain. Like most Zeltharians, he enjoyed showing off Imperial superiority to conquered species. He showed Nicole detailed plans of their power systems, weapons, and shields. What he didn't realize was that Nicole had an imperfect memory and was recording every detail. Each schematic he showed her revealed new ways the Black Fleet could hurt the alien ships, but the deception was not perfect. Zeltharian Security Chief Colden was starting to notice things that bothered him. "The humans are too cooperative," he told Governor Dexville during a private meeting. "Other species take months to accept Imperial rule. These humans adapted in days." Dexville disagreed. "They are simply more intelligent than most species. They recognize the futility of resistance." "Perhaps, but I've studied the records of 300 conquered worlds. Human behavior is unusual. They seem almost eager to help us." Colden had been a security officer for 200 years. He had learned to trust his instincts, and his instincts said something was wrong with Earth's surrender. he began investigating human activities more carefully. He studied communication patterns, watched for suspicious behavior, and analyzed resource reports. Slowly, he began to find small inconsistencies. The humans claimed their total military force was 12 million personnel. He reported to them, but our population scans suggest their industrial capacity could support a much larger military. Where did the extra soldiers go? Dexvel asked. That's what concerns me. Either they're hiding additional forces, or they built something else with their military resources. In the asteroid belt, Captain Amy Foster received reports of increased Zeltharian security activity. The aliens were starting to ask harder questions about human capabilities. How much time do we have? She asked Admiral Morrison during a secure communication. Not long. Their security chief is getting suspicious. We need to move up the timeline. The Black Fleet had been planning to wait another week before attacking. That would give them time for perfect positioning and final preparations. But if the Zeltharians discovered the deception early, the element of surprise would be lost. All ships, prepare for Operation Darkfall. Amy broadcast to the hidden fleet. We attack in 36 hours. Throughout the asteroid belt, 347 ships began their final preparations. Crews checked weapons, tested stealth systems, and said private prayers to whatever gods they believed in. Captain Jack Miller sat in his command chair aboard the heavy cruiser U.S. Retribution. His crew was nervous but ready. They had trained for months for this battle. Sir, his weapons officer reported, all missile tubes loaded and ready. Stealth generators operating at full power. Thank you, Lieutenant. Make sure everyone gets some rest. Tomorrow we find out if humans can really beat an empire. On Earth, the Resistance members were getting their final orders. When the attack began, they would reveal their true nature and capture key alien leaders. The fake surrender would become a real trap. Ellen Hughes looked out her office window at the alien soldiers patrolling New York's streets. Tomorrow, those soldiers would discover that the city they thought they controlled was actually their prison. Dr. Nicole Grant finished copying the last of the Zeltharian technical files. She now knew exactly where to hit their ships to cause maximum damage. The information would be transmitted to the Black Fleet within hours. High Chancellor Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, satisfied with another successful conquest. In his long career, he had overseen the surrender of dozens of species. Humans had been easier than most. What he didn't know was that humanity had never surrendered at all. They had simply been very, very good at lying. The trap was set. The Black Fleet was moving into position. In 36 hours, the Zeltharian Empire would learn that some prey fought back, and when humans fought back, they fought to win. The signal came at exactly 0300 Earth time. Admiral Kate Morrison pressed a small button hidden in her jacket sleeve. The button sent a coded message across the solar system to every ship in the Black Fleet. Operation Darkfall had begun. 300 miles away from the Zeltharian flagship, space itself seemed to ripple. What had been empty darkness suddenly filled with the outline of a massive ship. The EU's Defiance materialized like a ghost, becoming solid dot. Captain Amy Foster stood on the bridge of her ship, watching as hundreds of other vessels appeared around her. The stealth fields that had hidden them for months were powering down. After so long in darkness, the Black Fleet was finally revealing itself. All ships report ready. Captain, her communications officer announced. Amy looked at the tactical displays showing the positions of both fleets. The Zeltharians were scattered throughout the solar system, confident in their superiority. They had no idea what was about to hit them. Signal the fleet. Attack pattern Delta. Target their command ships first. High Chancellor Vextar was reviewing occupation reports when his bridge officers began shouting in alarm. Warning lights flashed red across every control panel. The ship's main computer was detecting massive energy signatures appearing everywhere. Report, Vextar demanded. Sir, we're reading hundreds of ships materializing throughout the system. They appear to be human vessels, but that's impossible. Intelligence confirmed the humans had no significant fleet. Vextar moved to the main display and felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Fear. The screen showed ship after ship appearing from nowhere, surrounding his fleet in a perfect tactical formation. How did they hide so many ships? he asked his tactical officer. Unknown, sir. Our sensors detect no stealth technology. It's as if they simply didn't exist until now. Captain Amy Foster opened a communication channel to the Zeltharian flagship. Her voice cut through space with cold determination. Hi, Chancellor Vexter. This is Captain Amy Foster of the United Earth Fleet. Your surrender ceremony is officially over. Now you get to hear humanity's real answer to your demands. Vexter stared at the human face on his screen. Where he expected to see fear and submission, he saw only fierce determination. This is impossible. Your species surrendered. We witnessed your leaders accept imperial rule. Amy smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. We lied. Humans are very good at lying, especially the bullies who think they're too strong to be beaten. The first wave of human ships attacked before Vextar could respond. Small, fast fighters swarmed around the Zeltharian heavy cruisers like angry wasps. The aliens had never faced this type of coordinated assault. Commander Greg Taylor led a squadron of fighters in surgical strikes against the enemy sensor arrays. His pilots had trained for months to hit specific weak points that Dr. Nicole Grant had identified. Gold Squadron, target the sensor clusters on the port side. Silver Squadron, take out their communication dishes. We need to blind them before they can coordinate a response. The human fighters moved like dancers, weaving between alien weapons, fire with impossible grace. The Zeltharians were used to fighting enemies who lined up ship to ship and traded massive volleys. They didn't know how to hit targets that moved like Earth fighters. Captain Linda Ross commanded a bomber squadron that specialized in shield generators. Her ships were larger than the fighters, but still tiny compared to Zeltharian vessels. Blue Wing, follow my lead. We hit their shield generators simultaneously. If we time this right, their main guns will be exposed for exactly 12 seconds. The bombers dove toward their targets like hawks hunting prey. Zeltharian defensive fire lit up space around them, but the human pilots had studied alien response. Times they knew exactly when to dodge and when to attack. On Earth's surface, the second part of the operation was beginning. Governor Vexville was meeting with human administrators when the door to his office burst open. Mayor Ellen Hughes walked in, but she was no longer playing the role of a defeated leader. She wore military combat gear and carried a weapon designed specifically to subdue Zeltharian physiology. Behind her came a team of soldiers who had been pretending to be city workers. Governor Vexvale, you are now a prisoner of the United Earth Resistance. Your occupation of this planet is over. Vexvale reached for his communication device, but Ellen was faster. A stunning pulse from her weapon left the alien governor unconscious on the floor. Team Alpha, secure all alien personnel in the building. Team Beta, take control of their communication equipment. I want every Imperial soldier on Earth to know their leaders are captured. Similar scenes were happening in every major city. The humans who had seemed so eager to cooperate were revealing their true nature. Colonial administrators found themselves surrounded by the very people they thought they were ruling. Director Carl Wong coordinated the capture of the alien supply depot outside Los Angeles. General Peter Lee led an assault on their military headquarters in Berlin. Within 2 hours, every major Imperial installation on Earth was under human control. Back in space, the battle was intensifying. The Zeltharian fleet was trying to regroup, but the human attack was unlike anything in their experience. Captain Jack Miller's heavy cruiser, U.S. Retribution, engaged a Zeltharian battleship 3 times its size. Instead of trading direct fire, Miller used hit-and-run tactics that confused the alien captain, all power to forward shields. Take us in close, then veer off at the last second. I want them to think we're going to ram them. The Retribution charged straight at the enemy ship. At the last moment, it turned sharply and raked the alien vessel's hull with concentrated fire. The Zeltharian captain had expected a suicide attack and was caught completely off guard. Their tactics make no sense, the alien bridge crew reported. They attack and retreat without establishing firing lines. How do we respond to enemies who don't follow proper battle doctrine? Commander Danny Clark led a squadron of heavy cruisers in a coordinated assault on the alien command ships. These vessels controlled the entire Zeltharian fleet, and destroying them would leave hundreds of ships without leadership. Remember, We only get one chance at this. They won't fall for the same trick twice. All ships, attack formation Charlie. Hit them hard and fast. The human ships moved in perfect coordination. Each captain knew exactly where the others would be and what targets they would hit. The Zeltharians had superior firepower, but they had never developed this level of tactical cooperation. Dr. Nicole Grant's intelligence was proven invaluable. Every weak point she had identified was being exploited by human gunners. Every system vulnerability was being attacked by precisely targeted strikes. Captain Susan Lee commanded the destroyer U.S. Vengeance in an attack on the alien flagship's engine section. Her ship was fast enough to avoid the heavy weapons, but powerful enough to cause serious damage. Target their power couplings. If we can overload their main reactor, they'll lose weapons and shields simultaneously. The Vengeance darted between the massive guns of the flagship like a small fish avoiding a shark. Susan's gunners hit their targets with surgical precision. Explosions rippled along the alien ship's hull as critical systems began failing. Chancellor Vexstar watched his fleet being torn apart by an enemy he had dismissed as primitive. His communications officer reported disaster after disaster. Sir, we've lost contact with Earth's command. The human resistance has captured all our ground installations. Admiral Kekstar's battle group has been destroyed. The flagship Eternal Dominion is reporting critical damage. Vexstar could not understand what was happening. In 300 years of conquest, no enemy had ever fought back this effectively. How did they hide this fleet? How did they learn our weaknesses? How did they coordinate such a complex deception? Admiral Kate Morrison appeared on his communication screen. She was no longer aboard his ship as a prisoner. Somehow, she had escaped and returned to human command. You want to know how we did it? Kate asked. It's simple. You underestimated us because you've been bullying helpless species for so long. You forgot what a real fight looks like. She paused, watching explosions light up the space around Vexstar's ship. Humans don't surrender. We adapt. We learn. We find ways to win even when victory seems impossible. That's what makes us different from every other species you've conquered. The tactical display showed the truth of her words. The Zeltharian fleet was in full retreat, but the human ships were pursuing them relentlessly. No alien vessel would escape to carry word of this defeat. Captain Amy Foster coordinated the final phase of the battle. The enemy flagship was disabled but not destroyed. That was intentional. They needed Vexstar alive to send a message to the rest of the Empire. All ships, cease fire. Prepare boarding parties. We're taking prisoners. The greatest deception in galactic history was complete. Humanity had turned apparent defeat into total victory. The Zeltharian Empire had learned too late that some species fight back. And when humans fight back, they make sure their enemies remember the lesson. Captain Amy Foster's ship moved through the wreckage of the Zeltharian fleet like a predator among fallen prey. The space around Earth was filled with broken alien vessels and floating debris. The battle that was supposed to end with human surrender had become a complete victory for the defenders. The flagship Dominion Eternal hung motionless in space, its engines dark and its weapons silent. Boarding shuttles from the human fleet were already docking with the massive vessel. Marines in combat armor prepared to capture the most powerful alien leader ever taken prisoner. Captain Foster to all ships. Amy broadcast across the fleet. The immediate threat is neutralized. Begin search and rescue operations for any survivors. We show mercy to defeated enemies, even if they wouldn't have shown mercy to us. High Chancellor Vexstar sat in his command chair, staring at displays. That showed the destruction of his forces in 3 centuries of conquest. He had never seen anything like this battle. His fleet had been torn apart by tactics he couldn't understand, using technology he didn't know existed. Commander Denny Clark led the boarding party that secured the alien flagship's bridge. His Marines moved with professional efficiency, disarming alien crew members and taking control of critical systems. High Chancellor Vexstar, Danny said formally, by the authority of the United Earth Defense Force, you are now a prisoner of war. Your ship and crew are under human protection. Vexstar looked at the human commander with something approaching respect. He had expected these primitives to kill him in revenge for the ultimatum. Instead, they were following military protocols. and treating prisoners according to law. How did you accomplish this deception? Vexstar asked. Our intelligence confirmed your surrender was genuine. Your leaders accepted imperial rule in front of the entire galaxy. Admiral Kate Morrison entered the bridge, flanked by security personnel. She had spent days pretending to be a defeated prisoner aboard this same ship. Now she stood as the victor in the greatest military upset in galactic history. We studied your empire for 20 years, Kate explained. We learned that you always follow the same pattern. Demand, surrender, accept submission, install governors, move on to the next target. You never considered that a species might be smart enough to use your own arrogance against you. She gestured to the tactical displays showing the aftermath of the battle. Every human you thought was cooperating was actually gathering intelligence. Every surrender ceremony was a chance to study your ships and defenses. Every colonial administrator you installed was really a resistance operative feeding us information. President Lisa Carter appeared on the communication screen. She was broadcasting from the White House, addressing not just the prisoners, but the entire galaxy. People of all worlds, today marks the end of Zeltharian expansion and the beginning of a new age of freedom. The Empire demanded Earth's capitulation, but humanity chooses to stand and fight. Her words were being transmitted across every frequency the aliens used for communication. Dozens of conquered species would hear this message and learn that the invincible empire could be defeated. We extend an offer of alliance to any species willing to join us in resisting imperial tyranny. The age of conquest is ending. The age of liberation has begun. Dr. Nicole Grant joined the group on the alien bridge. She had spent weeks pretending to be a cooperative scientist while actually studying Zeltharian technology. Her intelligence had made the victory possible. Hi, Chancellor. Your empire's biggest weakness was believing your own propaganda. You told yourselves you were invincible for so long that you stopped preparing for real opposition. She activated a holographic display showing the battle from multiple angles. Our ships were smaller and less powerful than yours, but we used coordination and tactics you'd never seen before. We hit your weak points simultaneously. While avoiding your strengths, we fought smart instead of fighting big. Vexter studied the tactical analysis with the eye of a professional military leader. Despite his defeat, he could appreciate the elegance of the human strategy. Your deception was ... impressive. But this victory will bring the full might of the Empire down. Upon your world, we have 1,000 fleets larger than the one you just destroyed. Captain Amy Foster stepped forward. Let them come. Today, the galaxy learned that humans can beat Zeltharians. Tomorrow, other species will remember how to fight for their freedom. Your empire is about to face rebellions on 100 worlds. The first confirmation of her prediction came within hours. Long-range communications picked up reports of uprisings on former imperial colonies. Species that had been conquered decades ago were remembering their courage and striking back at their occupiers. On the mining world of Kepler 45 to see. The native Altarians attacked their Zeltharian overseers and seized control of the orbital stations. On Proxima Centauri B, the aquatic cetaceans destroyed the underwater imperial bases that had controlled their oceans for 30 years. Captain Susan Lee commanded the pursuit ships that were hunting down fleeing Zeltharian vessels. Most of the alien fleet had been destroyed or captured, but a few fast ships had escaped toward the edge of the solar system. Let some of them go. Admiral Morrison ordered, we want word of this defeat to spread. Fear of human retaliation will be more effective than destroying every last ship. The psychological impact was already visible in intercepted alien communications. Zeltharian commanders across the galaxy were requesting reinforcements and expressing doubt about their ability to maintain control over rebellious populations. Mayor Ellen Hughes stood in her New York office, watching alien prisoners being loaded onto transport ships. The governor and administrators who had tried to rule Earth were now being sent to secure facilities where they would be treated according to international law. Ma'am, her aide reported, we're receiving surrender offers from 17 different star systems. Species that were conquered by the Empire want to join our alliance. Ellen smiled. The victory was spreading faster than anyone had hoped. Fear of the Zeltharian Empire was being replaced by hope for freedom. Dr. Helen Brooks worked with teams of scientists to study captured alien technology. Every ship, every weapon, every piece of equipment was being analyzed to improve human defenses for the inevitable counterattack. Their technology is advanced, but not as superior as we thought, she reported to the Defense Council. They rely on brute force rather than innovation. We can match their capabilities and exceed their tactical flexibility. Colonel Steve Murphy coordinated the expansion of the Black Fleet using captured alien resources. Shipyards that had been building Zeltharian vessels were being converted to produce human designs enhanced with Imperial technology. We'll have 500 ships operational within 6 months, he reported. 1,000 ships within a year. The Empire won't catch us unprepared again. Captain Jack Miller led diplomatic missions to newly liberated worlds. His ship U.S. Retribution had become a symbol of hope across the galaxy. Former Imperial colonies welcomed human envoys as liberators rather than conquerors. The Andorians want to contribute their biotechnology to our alliance, he reported from the Vega system. The crystalline entities offer their energy manipulation abilities. Every species brings unique strengths to our coalition. Commander Greg Taylor established training programs to teach other species the tactics that had defeated the Zeltharians. Pilots from a dozen worlds learned human combat techniques and adapted them to their own capabilities. The key is coordination. And surprise, he explained to a mixed class of alien students, the Empire expects you to fight their way. Don't give them what they expect. 3 months after the battle, Admiral Kate Morrison stood on the observation deck of the rebuilt space station above Earth. The planet below showed no signs of the brief occupation. Humanity had erased every trace of Imperial presence and emerged stronger than before. Captain Amy Foster joined her at the viewing window. The used Defiance had been upgraded with captured alien technology and now served as the flagship of the Terran Liberation Alliance. The Empire will return, Amy said quietly. This was just their advanced fleet. The real war is still coming. Kate nodded, but when they return, they won't be facing just Earth. They'll be fighting every species in the galaxy that remembers what freedom feels like. She gestured to the tactical displays showing Allied fleets gathering throughout local space. The small resistance that had started as a desperate deception had grown into a galactic revolution. High Chancellor Vextar was right about one thing, Kate continued. This victory will bring the full might of the Empire down on us. But he didn't understand that sometimes the prey becomes the predator. The Black Fleet that had once hidden in Earth's asteroid belt now patrolled a dozen star systems. Ships bearing the blue and white colors of the Terran Alliance carried hope to worlds that had forgotten they could fight back. President Carter's final broadcast reached every corner of the galaxy. The Empire demanded our capitulation, but humanity chooses defiance. We choose freedom. We choose to fight for every species that dreams of independence. The message ended with images of the combined fleet. Hundreds of ships from dozens of worlds united under human leadership. The age of dominance was ending. The age of galactic freedom had begun.